Hi, and welcome to Wrong Way! And this is my Begode Monster Pro review after nearly 1,000 kilometers in about 2 weeks. So, let me tell you more about it. Wrong Way! And first of all, also, big thanks to myewheel.com for providing me this electric unicycle for testing purposes. If you want to get a USC in Europe, feel free to use my code WRONGWAY to receive a 5% discount on their site. I also do receive a kickback from these orders, so you also do support the channel with purchases at myewheel.com. If you're outside of Europe, feel free to use any other links that are provided in the description. But remember that this is not a sponsored review. I can say all the positives, all the negatives on this wheel, and I've been using it, well, as usual, the wrong way style. So in this review, I'll cover everything you need to know about the Begode Monster Pro. And every one of these tests is a factual, real-world test with real-world scenarios and exact numbers that I will provide to you, ranging from performance, acceleration, range, durability, quality, features, basically everything you need to know about it. So let's get started. But before we get into all the details, let's rewind the clock a little and look at the past of Begode, or Guads in this matter. And whilst you can say a lot of things about Begode, good and bad, you can't deny that it's always been the king of performance, and it has always been pushing for new technologies and better solutions for performance riders. But I want you to really understand here what I'm trying to tell you, because their wheels naturally need improvements and there's still a lot to be desired, and I'll talk about it in this review as well. But Guads was the first and currently only producer of a 22-inch wheel and a 24-inch wheel. They were the first to implement 100-volt boards which are able to smoke scooters off the line. Hell, now we have also 3-inch wide tires, which we love in EUCs, and that's also a trend that Guads started. And the MSP, or now the RS19, is still the only EUC you can buy with 2 motor options, high speed and high torque. So I'm sure that the creators of the Monster Pro knew what they were doing. Or were they? For a while I was really hesitant to actually test the wheel. It was on my way, but I wasn't that much looking forward to it, as my friend had an issue with it and it started combusting in a car. The Black Cobra had a cutout on it. Yoshi from the United States had one as well. So there were pretty serious issues with this wheel. And as we've seen recently on the channel Electric Dreams, Guads wheels, as well as Veteran, don't have such a good protection for overpowering it, overheating it, whatever you might call it. There might be several reasons for incidents like before. It might be overpowering, it might be water ingress, it might be even something else, but none of it is an excuse to let our wheels not be safe. But then the day came when the Monster Pro came knocking on my door, and I knew I had to test it. Now, from the models that I've shown before, there have been fixes provided by Guads, and I was also deliberate on not doing several things on the Monster Pro. Not accelerating too fast. I've set myself a limit for 60 degrees Celsius, so my phone would vibrate and make a chime when it reaches, and then I just stop. I wouldn't ride hardcore off-road paths with strong inclines, and I also didn't ride in rain. But then I just started to really like this wheel. After the first several hundred kilometers on the Pro, I was filling up with confidence. And I quickly understood that this is not just another wheel. It is not an upgrade to the old monster. What this wheel can do and how it rides blows my mind. For me, as a rider that does tens of thousands of kilometers each year, both on road and cycling paths, the Monster Pro is one of a kind. It doesn't have competition in that regard. The 24-inch wheel, the intense weight of the Monster Pro, and the good balance of the battery packs gives this wheel an insane amount of stability. Honestly, the Sherman feels like a small toy unicycle for me now. This feels like a full-blown electric motorcycle on one wheel. Therefore, you can ride on it for days. I did a range test on it in one sitting, 140 kilometers in one go, one charge, usual wrong way style of riding. Couple of times 70 kilometers an hour, none of that 30 kilometer an hour slow riding. No, maybe just a small bit, but mostly a range test like I would usually do it. And the thing is that this range is just double what you usually get on unicycles. I couldn't get the Sherman over 100 kilometers if I ride usually, like 100, 105, but this is just so much more than the Sherman. On a good day I could also ride like 90 kilometers just because I feel like it. I wouldn't get really much tired and I would still have over 40% battery left. I was riding 20 kilometers when the battery reached zero on darkness mode, and I could still go 50 kilometers an hour then. Honestly, this range, this battery is something else. And then there's the performance. This is currently the fastest wheel on earth. Like, you can check out El Unicycle's channel. He goes like 92 kilometers an hour on this thing. I did 84 and I feel pretty good with it, but it also can accelerate. So yeah, apparently now we are measuring 0 to 80 km an hour times on electric unicycles. Not too shabby. Keep in mind though that these tests aren't like full throttle acceleration tests like an e-bike or an e-scooter. This is the max that I did on this particular run. I'm sure that it could be faster, like Kuji Rolls accelerates insanely fast, but I had just a little bit of reserve as I don't accelerate to 80 km an hour oftentimes. And the Monster Pro, it does have a lot of power, but it doesn't seem to have that much torque. And let me explain that a bit further. However, you have to be really careful with power pads on this wheel as it's really easy to overpower. These pads have a lot of room, so if I even like go into a bump, I have pretty much a lot of space here to compensate for it. Most of the time if I'm going to the bump, I lean the wheel a bit back, just to not overpower it, because just with one foot, hear that sound? I can overpower it very easily. So be careful with power pads. I was also riding this wheel without any power pads, and it's doable, pretty cool. However, it can't accelerate and brake that fast. But even with power pads on, be careful, this wheel just doesn't have the torque you're used to on other wheels. And it's not like I'm just showing you in a, unrealistic scenario that you're going slow and you can overpower the wheel. It's actually a real world issue with the Monster Pro. I had a couple of instances when braking hard, when I like 30, 20 kilometers an hour, the wheel just had some give to it. It was overpowered. You heard the motor sound that I showed you earlier. And also when I was accelerating and I hit a bump, I had the situation twice, the wheel also was overpowered. There was the sound and the pedals dipped a bit. Now, if this happened and you're not aware of it, this can lead very easily to a cutout. And this is the thing, I guess, about the Monster Pro. It has to be, accelerated very smoothly, sort of like in slow motion. It doesn't have the instant torque of like a MSP HT, even the HS version. It has to be driven very, very smoothly. And the modes also feel like a little bit of slow motion. Like on a MSP, if you ride in medium mode, you feel the pedal give instantaneously. But on the Monster Pro, it sort of like takes a while until it starts to have that like similar give like the MSP and the RS. I was riding the Monster Pro always pretty much in medium mode, except for my acceleration test, and I found out that the easiest to overpower it is actually in a soft and hard mode. In medium mode, I think it's the best optimum, since it tilts a bit first and then it accelerates. I also did my usual incline tests with this wheel. However, this is not something I would recommend doing with your Monster Pro, as the wheel is huge. This creates a lot of heat. It's heavy. Don't do it. I just wanted to do it to test the power of this wheel, always also checking temperatures and just seeing if it's possible to do these inclines. It's very hard to climb with the Monster Pro. You have to lean a lot, you have to use your power pads, also have good balance, since wielding a big wheel around is not that easy. You have to like get a new sense of balance when riding the Monster Pro. Get that burn down! Woo! Also in the town, it's sort of like a workout. When I was going back to the MSP after riding a lot on the Monster Pro, it felt like I had a good dose of fitness, and now everything on the MSP felt very easy. The wheel exhibits no train tracking whatsoever, and due to its balance, also no wobbles pretty much. A 35-degree incline is not possible on the Monster Pro. And this brings me to wielding a 40-kilogram Monster Pro with a 24-inch tire around in the city. Is it any good? Does it even make sense? And for me, it does, and it does a lot. I was using the Monster Pro all the time, even for smaller errands, smaller grocery runs. I just couldn't get enough of this wheel. The ride is like on a cloud, even in higher pressures. I did the range test actually in 20 psi tire pressure, so if I had a higher pressure, the range could be even greater. And that is why I challenge you to like this video. If this video gets 900 likes until the next upload, which will be in 48 hours from publishing this video, I will make a slow speed up to 30 kilometers an hour range test of the Monster Pro. But going back to the ride, the sense of balance you get, the sense of safety, the comfort is even better when it comes to like rough surfaces than on a wheel with suspension. Now naturally, if you have big bumps, it's less comfortable because it doesn't absorb them, it bounces around. But in everyday situations, like this is the way to go. I love the stability of it, I love turning, I love the high position of the foot plates, I love the feeling that I can get any time on the street and I'll feel safe with the speed. and I love the insane range that it gives me. It basically you will feel tired first, and then maybe at some point the wheel will have not enough juice. It's not easy initially to get the balance right and to like ride slowly, and I wouldn't definitely get it for like off-road paths. Like that's why what I have the MSP for, but it can do them slowly, but it's, you know, not as fun. It doesn't have pretty much any pedal dipping. Maybe in like faster, longer turns it does have some, but very little, and that is a big upgrade from the Monster, which had a lot of it. Alright. Oh, and yeah, it can go downstairs. However, it's not a thing I would usually do on a Monster Pro. I'd rather do it on a RS19. A couple of words also regarding the tire. It's very soft. For heavier riders, I would definitely choose like a higher pressure, 40 psi or even higher. Sometimes it can slip, especially at lower pressures, but it has a lot of grip. I really enjoy it. It almost feels sometimes like the Monster Pro would have like a rear-wheel drive, if that makes sense. It's sort of like wants to break out in the bag. It's a feeling I really enjoy, but I didn't feel in any other wheel. I adore the ride of the Monster Pro. Alright, but let's talk about some features of the Monster Pro, of which there are many. Some of them totally useless, some of them pretty cool. Let's start with the lighting. And as you can see here on the front, I am not using the stock lighting at all, because if I put it on, oh, no, it does it turn on? Yeah. It shines exactly on the floor, so when I'm riding in the night, the beam is somewhere like 2 meters in front of me, and it just blinds me from the bottom, and it doesn't provide me any light in front of me. So I put a pair of Shredlights, SL200 and SL1000 here on the side, which provide me the night light sort of, and a helmet light as well. And this is essentially the front light setup for the Monster Pro. I don't even turn these on because they're annoying. And every time I'm also pressing these lights, I'm changing the setting of the RGB lighting, which I don't like either. So I am not that bothered about these, but if they would be just angled upwards, or if there would be some sort of setting to tilt them up, even with a screwdriver, or like a light like we have on the Veteran Sherman, then it would be much better than just a light unit that I don't use at all. It's also very blinding, even though it points downwards. The tail light is the same we see on on the RS19, and this is pretty good, but my favorite lighting feature of the Monster Pro by far is the RGB lighting. It's very well visible in the night. It's really awesome. There are many presets, and for me it's the best RGB lighting yet on an electric unicycle. I absolutely love it. Very bright, cool settings, very useful. In this rear vicinity you can also see that I don't have the mudguard put on, because even though I had a mudguard, it was a pain in the ass to put it on, so I just went without it. I didn't ride this thing a lot in the rain, actually not at all. I don't consider it to be a waterproof wheel. I did some waterproofing, but I would still be pretty, concerned to ride it in the rain. However, there are people all over the planet that waterproofed it and they're riding in the rain and it's fine. I also have the optional seat accessory, which is pretty cool. I like to ride it seated. Even with the power pads, I can ride it seated. And the only bummer is that it's a bit too square, so it just digs into your foot, especially if you're riding standing up. But when riding seated, it's pretty awesome actually. The next bummer about the seat is that it blocks the trolley handle. And now that we are speaking about the trolley handle, I think that it could be actually worse. The cool thing is that you can actually put a helmet into here, like if you detach the goggles, and then you can just easily go into a store with a helmet here, or with a backpack mounted here, and then it's resting against the foot plate. The trolley handle is rather short and narrow though, so in order to turn the wheel, you actually need to like give it a bit of a kick to make it easier. Other than that, you need a bit of speed, like 1-2 kilometers an hour to let it turn a bit more easily. Sadly, as all the Guads, it doesn't have a button to lock it in place. It goes a bit harder in on the bottom part than on the top part. That's Guads, I hope someday they will realize. I replaced also the stock foot plates with the magnificent Nilonove foot plates. I tried to ride with the stock ones. I don't like them that much. Nilonove is the way to go. Also with adjustable tilt angle, really love them. And on the side you can also see the side pads, torque pads. These are now my favorite pads. The power pad comparison is coming soon with lots of different brands. I also have some small amount of this rubber piece here to just have a bit more comfort. This cutout is also really cool as it provides more comfort for my legs here. It's not hitting here anywhere. This is a very cool feature of the Monster Pro. You can also hear the fan. It's very quiet, almost as quiet as my hairdryer. On the front you can see the same charge port or similar like we have on the RS. Don't really like it, falls off, and these are just a bit too much deeply embedded, the GX 16-5 ports. There's two of them, really fast charging. However, the stock charger is just 9 hours to charge it from 0 to 100%. There's also a USB port. There's this voltage meter, totally useless in broad daylight. And it's funny because if you look a bit from the front, you can't see the top of it. So you sometimes don't know the real number. Is it a 7? Is it a 1? I don't know. But if you look from the back, it's more visible. However, not that usable in the broad daylight. Here's also the power button. And funny thing is that sometimes the lights, the front lights just don't work. You have to ride a little and they turn on for some reason. There's also the lift switch button. I tried lifting the wheel up. It is possible. It's also possible to put it into a car trunk. It's not as bad as you might imagine. However, if you are going up or down stairs, it's way easier to push it up or like pull it down than using the trolley handle. So it's not a very difficult wheel to get over stairs. I actually consider it better than a EX or EXN. In the back we also have the speakers here, which looks like probably you saw the meme. I'll show it here anyways. But the speakers are one of the worst ones I've ever heard on an electric unicycle because they provide no bass at all, just mids and highs. So just listen to this. MSP speakers are so much better, EX speakers are so much better. I would even say that it's a bit nicer to listen to the KS16X than this. It's just such a weird sound. I couldn't find really any music that would sound good on a speaker. Probably the best bet was like a mid-focused orchestral music with violin. Shell, pretty fragile as usual, but it has a couple cracks here on the top. Fell at very slow speed, so happily it holds up with this. But other than that, yeah, I guess that's the feature walk around of the Begode Monster Pro. Maybe one more thing to note here is that there's a couple more settings in the Begode app. There's now the loudness setting of the beeper, which is very quiet even in the loudest setting. Really disappointed here compared to the new RS and EX, EXN. And there's also the maximum allowed tilt angle, so you don't do this if you turn too sharply or if you're, for example, on a pump track. Essentially, you can set up how far you can lean it horizontally before it turns off. So that's it. This is all I know about the Monster Pro, and let me just sum it up a bit for you. This wheel doesn't have the best quality in terms of like assembly and quality assurance. You need to open it up when you get it. Check out my unboxing video, check out my teardown video to see what's inside. If you want to ride it in the rain, you need to waterproof it. Like, if you want a wheel that is like ready, out of the box, waterproof, you should get probably like a Emotion V12 if you want a speedy wheel, or even the veteran Sherman. Lately these have been having issues as well. But this wheel, yeah, it just needs some love at first, but I believe that after you waterproof it, it will just run for days. And question is, this or the Sherman? And for me, it's the Monster Pro. I will be getting one. I'll be buying one for myself. I just love the way it rides. I love the feel. I love the top speed. I love the range, and range is so important. Also, many of you, as I've seen in votes on the community tab of my channel. Now, the sensible thing to do is not to buy it. Like, if you don't need the range, if you don't want to have like this ultra nice ride, if you don't want to have like fitness when you ride, because this is a bit of an exercise to ride this wheel, then no, just don't get it. If you like don't want to tinker with the wheel, probably also no. But for those of you that want the ultimate of ultimates in terms of performance and ride quality, ride feel, stability, currently, sadly, there is no competition, and I'm waiting for the next company to take Godway's crown. So if you're still here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.